following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin.
Hey, welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit this week. So we're covering attachment styles. So welcome. I'm Christine, your host.
And I'm Gabby, your co-host.
And hi, Gabby. How's it going?
Hi. I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever.
Well, we haven't talked this week. I don't know why.
Unacceptable. I'm having withdrawals.
I was thinking that today in my car. I was like, I haven't talked to her at all, and this is ridiculous. It's unacceptable.
Yes. My cat's right here. She's like, yes, Christine, it's unacceptable. Well, dating, it's, everyone, they talk about the love languages, and I'm trying to understand, like, especially with our co-host today or our guest today, like our attachment style.
Do you want me to read them off? There's 4 of them.
Yes, please.
And if I'm wrong, she will correct me. But what I could find in my research was secure, anxious, avoidant, fearful-avoidant. So I guess the secure is trusting, high self-esteem, able to balance intimacy and independence. I think that's more me now. It was never me in the past. Anxious, over-dependent on others, needs and seeks approval and responsive from others. Less trusting and sometimes impulsive. That was definitely me in the past. Is that you? Yeah. Avoidant, high independent, appears to avoid attachments, self-sufficient, often suppresses feelings, comfortable without close relationships. That's neither one of us. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like that.
For sure.
And then there is the fearful-avoidant, which is wanting emotional closeness but feels uncomfortable with it, mistrusts partners, low sense of self, often suppresses feelings. Now, I should have read all that shit before he came on.
I know, right?
But we get the gist of it. Yeah, I think I'm the first one now, and I was the second one in the past. I think I might be losing you.
Has been the anxious one, I think.
My history is anxious, but I've done a lot of work on me, and my mic is weird. I've done a lot of work on me. I got my new hairdo. You like that?
You look sexy. You look great.
I
forgot what you look like because I haven't talked to you all week.
I know, it's easy to forget. I think that I'm more of the secure one now, which is good. Hopefully, I know that the kind of man that I want to attract should be attracted to that. So that's what I like. That's,
I'm trying to, and it's about, self-reflection and working on yourself. Like you said, I'm working on, being that secure one. I mean, in the past, I definitely haven't. I can own that.
Let me tell you something that happened to me this week. I told you that I'm going through my 90-day glow up transformation. Oh my God. I'm in my 5-day right now. And already I've lost almost 10 pounds. I hope that it's noticeable.
What? Yeah,
it's going really good. I'm really doing good. I did this thing called breath work this week. And it literally blew my mind. And it really made me see something really intensely. And I had to emotionally move through it. And what that was, and I'll just briefly tell you really quick. In my head during this breath work, it's almost like I'm in a trance.
Like Lamaze?
I
having a blend on
thought,
it?
let me tell you something. I thought it was just going to be laying down and doing a bunch of breathing and go, no, it is not that at all. You go through some transcending situations. Like you see things and feel things and hear things completely different than you would do in your normal day. It's
Like
almost like getting
masturbating?
therapy. Be quiet, you. It's almost like inner therapy.
It's different for me when someone else does it.
That's your inner therapy,
That's
doing
my
your
inner
own
masturbation.
masturbating. Yeah, I figured so. But what I heard in my head was that I'm not ever good enough for
The
anybody.
negative self-talk.
And it was so huge and so overwhelming for me that I physically felt intense pain. I emotionally felt intense pain, and I had to work through that. I just cried through that. And then the minute I got through it, and I literally said in my head, but wait, I'm good enough for me. That's all that matters. I'm good enough for me. And the intense emotional and physical pain was gone. And I just have felt like this new person this last couple of
I
days.
love this. Don't
Yeah.
let this new person forget about me. So let's just like check that shit, bitch.
Come on, can I ever forget you?
Never.
You wouldn't let me. You'd
No.
be bitch slapping me to next week.
Damn, Skippy, I will.
Yeah. So we want to bring in our guest today. She is owns a company called Redo Love, and she's extraordinary. She's going to talk to us about attachment styles. And we're going to talk to her about all these things about understanding them, learning how to function and get, help ourselves in our dating worlds. So we're going to talk to Flora. If we could bring Flora in from Redo Love. Hey, Flora.
Hi.
I was going to attempt to say your last name, and I realized I didn't ask you in advance.
It's Flora Ong. It's
Ong.
pretty
I was
simple.
going to say Ong. Yeah, I was going to say Ong, but I was unsure. So welcome to the show. Welcome to 50 Shades.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thrilled to have you. I had never, ever in my life heard anything called attachment styles. When you mentioned it on the group that we're in together, and I was like, attachment styles, what is this woman talking about? And then I saw all your amazing stuff. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And I believe you have been recently what was that thing I saw where you're the top 5 matchmaker?
It's top 5 dating coaches to watch in 2022.
That's it.
Me.
That's it.
Me.
That's you. I love it.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really exciting. It was a serious surprise. So I was very happy about that.
And where do you work out of? Like, do you work nationwide like with clients or
I do. I work worldwide, quite frankly. You basically work on Zoom like the rest of the world these days, right? So I've had clients in India, I've had clients in England, Australia, and obviously the States.
Wow, that's amazing. And I saw that article where you were in that top 5 dating coaches, and I was like, oh my God, look at her. She's so gorgeous. I could not wait to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, thank you, Aylin. Can y'all see?
We got a fan. I'm loving the blue.
So you're a dating coach and matchmaker?
I am a dating coach and I am a matchmaker. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But my primary business is the date coaching.
We all need it, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Do you coach more men or women or kind of both?
I actually coach both. In fact, in my upcoming group, which I'll tell you guys about later, I have more men than women currently. So, which is slightly new, but yeah, I typically have a few men in my groups.
Do you find that these men are having a difficult time with like gender roles? Like, should you pay for the first date? Should you?
That's like, for me, that's like small beans. That's all like a result. That's just that's just a choice. And when you get to the heart of who you are, you're more comfortable with your choices. So yeah, I mean, that more comes up like in the matchmaking maybe conversation, what choices people want. But in terms of date coaching, it's a lot deeper work, getting you exactly what you said, Christine, and earlier when you were talking to Gabby about really being happy with yourself. And once you're happy with yourself, you're more comfortable with your own choices. You trust yourself more. And so, you just make whichever choice works for you and find people that align with that.
I agree. I think that the whole 2022 theme this year has been independence, love yourself, date yourself, enjoy being with yourself. And Gabby would say, masturbate by yourself. I can hear it in my head.
Whatever
Gabby.
it takes to make you happy,
Exactly.
I'm not a very nice person if I don't do that often.
That's fair. At least you know that about yourself. Now, self-awareness, see?
Yeah, I agree. I told my daughters when they were growing up that they have to know what pleases them before they can tell a man how to please them, or a woman, or whatever their choices may be. But yeah, I think it's important.
Totally.
So let's talk about these attachment styles. So I read off 4 of them and kind of did a quick brief of them. Was I right? Did I find the right thing?
Yes, you were right. So your attachment style is basically how you learn to attach to humans before the age of 3. And where do you learn that? Obviously from your caretakers. And it's so deep set that it really is more of a nervous system conversation than it is a conscious thought conversation, right?
Okay.
And so it comes out like some of the attributes you were describing, they're all accurate and all true, but they're not a result of conscious thought. They're a result of your innermost body, nervous system understanding of how to be around people, or around people that you love or care about.
Do you think birth order has anything to do with it? I'm sorry, Christine, because I'm a middle child, so I'm like anxious. Hello.
I think it can. I don't think it always does. I do, but I do think it can. But I don't think there's any studies, as far as I know, that link anything specific. And to be honest, it's kind of hard with attachment styles. It's very well studied attachment styles, right? Different than the love languages. The attachment styles, there's been 200 to 500 tests actually redone, and every time they kind of come out the same. So it's a very tried and true psychological, reality. But I don't know that there have been any studies done that link birth order with attachment styles.
Okay. So do you think that people who develop these attachment styles as children and growing up with their, like you said, caretakers, whether it be parents or grandparents or the system, whatever. Yeah. I can't think today. I'm still on my juice cleanse, so I've got a little bit of brain fog. So forgive me. Oh my gosh. But do you think that when people grow up and they've learned these things and they start developing the relationships that they develop with these attachment styles in their teens and their 20s or whatever, do you think it's easy for them the older they get to change those styles and learn to grow within those styles and change to be a better, healthier person? Or do you think it's harder?
Absolutely not. It's what you're changing is your what you're hoping to change is your subconscious beliefs. Okay. And it's a very difficult thing to change, right? Because let's talk about like diet, for example, right? I always relate it to diet, it's you're not supposed to eat the cookie, right? That your conscious mind understands that that's bad for you, but you eat the cookie, because you're feeling a little peckish, because you're feeling lonely, because, that's what you do at night. That's your habit, because of 100 million reasons, right? But and with attachment styles, it's kind of the same thing. Like, you guys both said you were anxious. I'm anxious primarily. My primary attachment style is anxious. But, I knew I shouldn't text the guy, but like there was a compulsion inside of me that I needed to text the guy. I had to do it, right? And what people don't understand is that it is actually a compulsion. It's a compulsion of the nervous system. It's a learned behavior to attach that happened that many years ago, before you were 3, right? It's like the anxious attachment style is more of known as the needy attachment style in adulthood, right? You need more attention. You have abandonment issues. You're always afraid somebody's going to leave. You want to know, you need to be in the know, because when you're not in the know, you're very uncomfortable, right? The unknown is very uncomfortable. So early on in relationship, you always want to know where you stand, kind of thing,
Yeah.
So there's and because this is all learned before the age of 3, before you have cognitive memory, you are just acting from that place of need to fill this emotional need that wasn't met for you as a kid.
I literally feel like you just nailed me. I mean, like, or classified me right now.
Yeah.
Let's flip through the dictionary. Oh, it says Gabby and Christine.
Yeah.
Crazy bitches.
And Flora.
Yes, we're all there with our pictures. Like that, right. Literally, I mean, when you describe kind of like that anxious, it almost has like this like negative connotation, but it's really like not. I mean,
well, none of them are, they all, except for secure, which is the healthier one, right?
Right.
They all have a negative connotation, but the reality is it's just coping mechanisms. We learn to receive love as little babies, right? Because somebody told us that, we learned that with the anxious attachment style, it's a result of inconsistent emotional attunement. So what that means is that sometimes your parents or your caretakers were there to properly emotionally attune with you, and then sometimes they weren't. So when they left, you were like, you're a kid, your baby, you don't know when they're coming back. You don't know if they're coming back. You become naturally desperate, like for them to be there. And you get really upset when they're not there because you don't know when they're coming back. And that manifests in adulthood as that needy type of behavior. But it's really just a result of not knowing if your mom or your dad are ever going to come back and love you again, or be there for you again, or, emotionally attune with you.
That made me think of something. So say that there is a man who likes to have a relationship where she is in that attachment style. Are you understanding what I'm saying? I'm having a hard time connecting what I'm trying to say. It's like, is it just as unhealthy for him to desire to have somebody who's in that position as it is the woman to be in that position, or the man to be in that?
So I'm going to take it in a slightly different direction, right? Because kind of what you're alluding to without the conscious portion of it. Let me answer your question first. Are there men who will take advantage of a vulnerable woman in that state?
That's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah. Of course there are, right? There's people who take advantage of anything that they can.
True.
But if somebody's consciously doing that, they're more on this side of probably narcissistic, right, than anything else,
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
But what does happen a lot is that the avoidant attachment style, which has completely opposite coping mechanisms from the anxious style. So you have the anxious person who's needy, who wants a lot of attention, who needs to know where things stand, who does not know how to self-soothe, right? They need other people to be around them so that they can soothe, like they're only happy when that person's home, or when, they've heard from that person, or when they know their next date, or, that whole thing. The avoidant person, on the other hand, completely opposite. In childhood, their emotional needs were neglected, and they, as a result, learn to shut down their whole emotional centers. So when they're feeling triggered or stressed, they figure stuff out on their own, right? They're loners from the inside, literally from the inside out. And they need a lot of space. They don't like feeling like somebody wants them or needs them all the time, because they don't feel that they need anybody. So they don't feel anybody should need them.
Most men I date.
And I'm going to explain why. So when they're triggered, they need space. And then when the anxious person is triggered, they need closeness, right? So totally opposite. Okay. And these two always find each other, because what happens subconsciously, not consciously, right? Subconsciously, the anxious person is used to inconsistency in their upbringing, right? They're used to having the emotional need met, not knowing when it's coming back, having the emotional need met, not knowing when it's coming back. And what does the avoidant person do? They have a great time when they're around, but then they need their space. They have a great time when they're around, then they need their space, right? So they provide that inconsistency.
Yeah.
And then the avoidant person is like, enraptured by this anxious person who has so much emotion and who could be so expressive and who could be so, loving, because they don't know how to do that, right? But they think it's amazing. But their nervous system gets overwhelmed by it also. And so they need to take space from it, right? And so these two a lot of times end up falling in love and end up together in relationship. But because their coping mechanisms are so opposite, right? They just end up in what's called the anxious avoidant loop, where they're constantly fighting and arguing. The anxious person is like, but I just needed you to hold me. And the avoidant person's like, I need some space. And, and they a lot of times don't even understand that about themselves. So they don't even say it, right? They just leave, they just go. But then they come back because they're in love.
I've been always associating that with the giver and the taker. So I always thought of it in that way. I'd never really ever even heard of attachment styles or anything like this, but that to me feels like the giver and the taker. Do you know what I mean?
Well, when you say it that way, it it almost sounds like it's making one good and one bad.
Yeah, which I don't mean to,
right.
But in my head, it is.
Yeah. And then really, the thing to understand about the avoidant person is it's also not their fault. You know what I mean? This is really like built into their nervous system too, to take space, to be on their own, to, self-soothe on their own. It's not that they're trying to hurt you. It's that they don't know how to support you. Like they never learned to be properly emotionally attuned to, so they don't know how to do it.
In your list here that I stole from you earlier today, it's one of the things you say that you help people with is learn how each style functions in different stages of dating and relationships. How do you go about doing that?
So actually what you're reading is a list of what to expect in my masterclass that's coming up, my free masterclass that's coming up, that I'd love to tell everybody about. I'm actually doing it on Valentine's Day for all us single people that have nothing to do. That's me, by the way. So I thought I'd get a few people together and hang out and talk about attachment styles. It's called Relearn to Date based on your attachment style. And I go through all of the detailed information about how this happens, how it's all formed, what the different attachment styles are, and how they act in different phases of relationship.
Oh, that's cool.
How interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think that's great. It's on Valentine's Day, you said, right?
On Valentine's Day, yeah.
It's perfect day to, get yourself ready.
Single Awareness Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
Otherwise known as.
Yeah, Valentine's Day / Single Awareness Day. Yeah.
Right.
Good on Gab. Maybe we should have that the day before or the day after Valentine's. Anyway, so when people are learning about what their attachment style is, what do you suggest that they start doing to help what should everybody be? I mean, should we all be in the
secure?
first category, in the secure?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all want to move towards security ultimately, right? We all want to, we all want to move towards security. And it's not always it's not always possible to do that on your own, right? So oddly, this rupture, let's say, happened in relationship, and it also gets healed in relationship. So when you have a long-term healthy relationship, you become secure. Your nervous system over time, right? And it takes about, I mean, I guess there's no official timing, right? But if you think about it, it takes about a year and a half to, give or take a year and a half, to really start to feel a sense of security within partnership and know, that where your nervous system actually calms, right? Where every time like you guys get into a fight, you're not worried that, I'll never see him again, or I'll never see her again, that kind of thing.
Right.
Or on the other side, for the avoidant person, let's say that they're not like, oh, she's trying to trap me, or he's trying to trap me kind of feeling, and you learn to respect each other's boundaries. The anxious person learns their boundaries. But ultimately, again, this is all like a nervous system conversation. And what happens a lot of time is people feel like they've become more secure until they're in relationship. And something happens in relationship that triggers their attachment style.
Okay.
And then it all comes flooding back. All those feelings, all those insecurities, all those, early, how unstable early dating is, right? It's a really difficult time kind of to navigate, especially with an insecure attachment style. So it's definitely something to navigate. And again, based on your nervous system, what side you're on, what side of the fence you're on.
Yeah. So when we talk about the four different attachment styles, and we've got the secure and the anxious, we've been talking a lot about that. To me, it feels like Gabby and I both are in the anxious, or have been in the anxious, and we're working towards secure. And I think I've made a lot of inroads in that direction. I'm not perfect, and I'm always going to be human, but I think I'm making inroads. What do you say with the fearful avoidant and the avoidant? What's the best thing for them to be able to move towards, the secure part?
So just to briefly talk about the fearful avoidant, because we haven't really talked about that. The fearful avoidant is somebody who had some serious trauma in childhood. And that's all of us experience trauma in the sense, in all the insecure attachment styles did, in the sense that our emotional needs weren't met when we needed them to be met, right? But the fearful avoidant more than likely had some serious trauma, whether it was sexual, mental, emotional, physical abuse kinds of situation. And they tend to be the smallest portion of the population, although a lot of people tend to relate to it, because what the fearful avoidant attachment style is, it's a mix of both the anxious and the avoidant styles.
I was just going to say that. You just described my childhood.
Okay.
But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I'm not really a fearful avoidant, and I'm not completely anxious either. I'm kind of a weird, 70-30 mix.
Yeah. And that's perfectly normal too. And depending on where you are in life, it also changes, right? Because the only way to figure out where you are is to take a quiz based on where you are in the moment of your life. So if you're in a happy, healthy relationship, let's say, or even if you're single and you're feeling great, you might fill out that quiz and come out like primarily secure, right? But if you just broke up with somebody, you're in a fight with somebody, you're in an early relationship and you're really nervous about it, you might fill it out and you might come out a little bit more on the anxious side than the secure side. So that is also like a very normal thing that happens. And so you then asked me what, some tips for the avoidant and for the fearful avoidant. So the avoidant needs to get more comfortable with intimacy. And
Mm-hmm.
it tends to have, with avoidance, it tends to have to be baby steps of doing that. And that means maybe getting comfortable with friends first, kind of thing, where, you know, they maybe are a little bit more vulnerable with a close friend that they trust and that it's easier to be vulnerable with. They have to take little steps, whatever it is for that person, because avoidance also runs the gamut, right? If somebody who's like super avoidant, doesn't come out of the house kind of thing, has loved COVID, right? Because it fed
agoraphobic.
all their need for alone time, that kind of thing, you know. To people who are pretty good, and avoidance, a lot of times they're very, they seem very confident, and they kind of are mostly, but subconsciously they're not, because they're also afraid of rejection. They also have abandonment issues, but it doesn't show as readily or as easily as it does on the anxious person. And the anxious person more than likely is a lot more aware of their insecurities than the avoidant person is.
When you talk about avoidant, I'm sorry, like what first comes to me is like the runner. What it's like, you know, first time of conflict, first time like disagreements, they're like, check out, I'm done. Get the, you know. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah. And they will shut down. They will totally and completely shut down. And you'll be like, but we just had a fight. Like, can we talk about it? Like, what's up?
All right. You have your 24 hours or 36 hours, have your space.
Yeah.
And then come back.
Right. But maybe not, depending on the level of avoidance that's really going on, you know? And so, the problem with avoidance too, is that they're less likely to think there's a problem. And so they don't, you know, the anxious person's anxious, so they don't want to be anxious. So they seek out help, right? Where the avoidant person is like, I'm good. I don't need you. I'm fine here, right? On my own. And so they don't, until later on in life, typically, when they're like, well, why didn't I ever get married? Or why don't I have a mate? Or why didn't any of those relationships ever work out? You know, until they start kind of digging a little deeper, they don't really, it's not really a problem for them. And so that is also the difficulty for them in relationship.
I think that I've seen a lot more of that when I find men that say I go on a date with somebody and we start talking and I say, oh, have you ever been married? You know, do you have any kids? And if they say no, I always say, so
what's
is
wrong
it
with
that you never wanted to or is that it just never worked out or what? Because I think that I find the majority of those are the avoidant, or fearful.
It's possible. And, you know, I'm single. I'm dating as well. I'm very aware of all this stuff, but I also never write anybody off, because you never know what happened. I think you can say that if people have had long-term relationships that haven't turned into marriage, that, you know, you don't know where they stand.
Right.
If these people have they're in their 40s, 50s, let's say, and they've never had a long-term relationship, that might be an indicator that something is awry, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, if I hear that they just have been with someone for a really long time and then it just either fizzled or whatever, for whatever reason, I don't care. But I get that, but it's the one that's like, oh yeah, no, I've had a couple like 3 months or, you know, then I'm like, what's going down?
Right. Yeah. And you know, again, I don't like to paint people with a broad stroke either. So I'm always on the side of asking more questions and getting to know people, because you don't really know anything until you're seeing patterns. That's really the giveaway.
How long do you think it takes before someone can start to see a pattern?
I think the patterns, well, it's interesting, because I think really when you start to really get to know somebody is when there are triggers, when there's real emotional involvement, and partners are being triggered. So when you're in relationship, you guys are like getting close to like either being in love or falling in love, or you're starting to feel those feelings, and then arguments come up. And that's when you really start to get to know whether somebody's a runner, or an avoidant, or if somebody's, anxious and, can't relax until things are resolved and, constantly is calling and texting and that kind of thing. The fearful avoidant, on the other hand, is a very hot and cold type of person, right? That's how it manifests for them, because they're anxious and because they're avoidant as well. They really intensely want relationship, and they can be very intense about it in the beginning. But as soon as the other person comes towards them, they back away.
Oh God, I think I dated a few of those. Hey, Gabby, does the whole avoidant, anxious sound familiar with that last dude that you went out with?
Literally, ding, ding, ding.
Was that running through your head? Because I was running
Literally
through my head
running
the whole
through my head.
time. Ah,
100%.
yeah. I mean, they were
100%.
barely seeing each other, and the very first any little ruffle, he just freaked out. So and ran. So
Yeah.
we've
And then I got an apology
been
message
together.
like a month later, but it's,
a whole month later, that's it.
well, I mean, it was just not good. It was not good.
doesn't
But
sound
the new guy I'm dating is it's good. But
What do you think he is? You think that he's secure? Or
I think he's
anxious,
secure.
avoidant?
This one's
Yeah.
secure.
He
Yeah.
seems that way to me too.
Yeah, because he calms me down pretty. I'm like, I get all like frazzled, and he's like, babe, like calm down. But I'm curious to, like, when people come in, like, use your service, and they come in with a blank slate, like, I don't know anything about this, they take your test, kind of like go through like the steps. Like, let's say you get someone who is an avoidant, or let's say we'll use the two examples, an avoidant and an anxious person. Like, what are the first kind of few things that you do to kind of help them through your program?
Well,
Good question.
first of all, there's the learning and understanding of what's going on, how it happened, right? And then, and anybody can take my quiz that's on my website, and that will lead you to a webinar that explains all of this as well. I'm doing that same information live on Valentine's Day, like we talked about, the Relearn to Date based on your attachment style program. So you can also register for that on the website. But what do I do with people? I go through I go through a method of talking, explaining, working with the conscious mind, then working with the subconscious in a way that helps them repair the issues that gave them the attachment style that they have.
It's like almost like therapy, like kind of psychoanalysis in some way, shape, or form. Like,
I am not a therapist, so
but self-reflection in some way.
A lot of self-reflection, a lot of self-awareness, and a lot of subconscious work. We do a lot of meditating in my program, and a lot of journaling that helps, all of which have been proven to help hit the subconscious. And that is a place that is where the issues were made. That is where we try and resolve the issues, where we do resolve the issues.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
How do people, where are you located again?
I'm in San Francisco.
You're in San Francisco, but you, like you said earlier, you see people from all over.
That's right.
And if our engineer Jason could shoot up her information on where they can find her again, that would be awesome.
Yeah, you can shoot up the website, which is www.redo.love.
And then you're doing this thing on Valentine's Day for those who want to kind of real self dive into more of this kind of thing, like finding their own attachment style and how to work through it. How long is that event going to happen?
It's about 90 minutes. It starts at 5:30 p.m. PST. And it's live, so I'll be answering questions. If anybody, is struggling with something, it's a good opportunity to come and hang out and chat. And I might even have a glass of wine while I'm doing it, because what it's like me.
I can't have wine right now.
No, here's the question: like, how long, when someone like does the Redo Love and starts with your program, like how long does your program with someone usually persist? Like, and do you go, like, I see you're anxious, category, but I have this other person that would be perfect for you. That's a secure or that's an avoidant, but maybe like it would just,
So as a matchmaker, I work for a company, so that's a
Okay.
completely separate thing.
Got it.
And it's actually on my Instagram links in bio. So if anybody is, looking for to be on a free database, they can go to my Instagram links in bio and just click that button and just fill out a profile.
Cool.
Great company, great service, and that filling out that profile is totally free. So
Do you want to mention that one?
no, I think they can just go to my Instagram links
Okay,
in bio and find that it says matchmaking. So
Great.
that's there. My program,
Yes.
Finding the One. The name of my program is called Finding the One. And
Finding the
guess
One.
who's the one? Yeah.
You are. Yeah.
I feel like I just won an academy. Like me.
I said it.
Spoiler alert. Because ultimately, when you find yourself, everything kind of falls into place. And so the program is the next cohort starts February 23rd. So that's pretty soon. If anybody's interested, please contact me. It's a 12-week program. There's 6 modules. Those modules have, like I said, the journaling and the meditating, and we meet every week to kind of process and discuss all the stuff that's come up within the week. And we go through different conversations about our, programming and conditioning that we experienced growing up. We talk about the attachment styles, how it's affected our relationships. We do inner child work, which is really powerful, and where a lot of this stuff stems from, right? And then we cast our list for the next, for our healthier version of relationship and how we want to feel moving forward.
Nice. It really gets me now. I get it now. When you said, guess who's the one?
Uh-huh.
And this whole, it's you. I never got that until I'm this age.
Good girl, babe.
It's this year. Honestly, it's this year that not so much 22, I'm talking about 21.
Yeah.
That this whole like calendar year for me has been like a discovery.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was such bullshit to hear someone say, you got to love yourself first. And I was like, fuck you. I got to love myself first. I hated it. I thought it was stupid. I was like, whatever. I have enough love for somebody. But then it was really about what you accept, self-respect, being secure within yourself, knowing what you offer and what you bring to the table, what you are, what it's really is about you. And if someone doesn't know that, I hope in our audience that this resonates with them, because I wish I hadn't had to wait till I was this age to figure this out, because I probably would have made different choices in my life. The only reason why I'd never go back is because I have 3 glorious, beautiful, amazing daughters and 2 extraordinary granddaughters. And yes, I'm a JJ. I'm a gangster grandma. But I would never go back and change that now. But I really wish that I had learned it sooner, at least after my divorce, years ago, that I'd learned that sooner. What about you, Gabby? Have you learned that sooner or later? Or are you infatuated with yourself yet?
I've always been infatuated with myself. No, I think that, I mean, I'm 38. I'm not a spring chicken, but I think that I'm at the right point to kind of have that kind of self reflection. I think it took me a long time to love myself. I mean, it really did. I think that I had that negative self-talk, and I was seeking something externally for a very long time to like kind of fill that void, as the anxious person is classic.
Absolutely.
And I think that by my second career, I became a nurse, and I think that kind of filled that own hole for me. And it made me feel confident and self-sufficient and love myself and be confident. And I think that has truly kind of changed the course on that front. Because I was also, like, as people would say, my picker was off because of I would pick people that I would need to almost like fix. Like there was something that I needed to fix something for a very long time. And I've gotten many a times, out here in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin, like, why aren't you married? Why don't you have any kids? Well, I haven't found that right person. And, like, it will come when it's supposed to. And I needed to do my own work. So I should have met you 10 goddamn years ago. Where the hell?
I should have met me 10 goddamn years ago.
Right.
I have the same story, right? The thing that is interesting to me too is that a lot of times what I get, even with women that are, 50, 60 years old, he was so immature. Oh, he's so immature. And what is really happening, quite frankly, is it's the attachment style. It's not the maturity. It's the attachment style. Again, that's like, it's so ingrained. It's such a result of the nervous system reaction that people act in ways that seem immature, but it's their natural state of being, right? They don't know.
Which one is that?
Huh?
Which one is that?
All of the insecure attachment styles, right? The anxious person will act needy, right? Will, want, maybe act jealous even, or, and that comes off sometimes as immature, right?
Yeah.
And the avoidant person will not be able to have an emotional conversation, which can seem immature.
I get that.
Right?
I know those.
And so I have a lot of times
where it's like, just be honest.
Right.
Tell me what you're feeling.
They can't be honest with themselves. So how can they be honest with another person?
Exactly. And they need to understand those emotions themselves, right? Because they don't know how to feel emotions properly.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't understand how our time flies so fast. I literally could talk to you for another hour. You're so fascinating. And you know what's crazy is you look exactly like my old roommate from back in the day, and she's so beautiful. And I just look at you and I'm like, I miss her. I got to see her recently, but I hate to let you go because time is running out.
I will.
But if you ever have anything else that you want to like make us, layman people start to understand ourselves better, we would love to have you back.
Yeah, no, it was great. You guys are awesome. And this was a really fun conversation for me too. So thank you.
I love it. So we want to make sure that everybody knows to go to her website, redo.love/relearn-to-date. And we also want to encourage you all to go to the Valentine's Day event to help recognize your 4 different attachment styles and how to work that out. So again, Gabby, I love you. I've totally become fond of you. Oh my God.
Flora.
Here's my brain fog. Flora. I knew that. I know
my name's not up. It's Redo Love.
Yeah, I saw a flower in my head and I went, Flora. Don't forget my brain fog. But we're so happy you were here today. And for everybody who came and joined us today, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your loyalty and you coming to see us. And please refer us to your friends, like us, share us, and same time next week, same place. And until then, keep it real.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.